Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time you've all been waiting for. So grab a hold of your pocket protectors and join us for NerdWorld!
I tell you. So, Colin, before we move forward with today's topic of the high fructose corn syrup and all the rest of the things out there that are killing us, uh, uh, we have exciting news about the Apple announcement, which was nothing exciting happened.
Yes, we are going to try to make exciting news out of the most boring Apple announcement known to man. They told us how wonderful their new Apple Watch was, and how
they spent 40 minutes on the Apple Watch.
What
And then
color was Tim Apple Cook? What color was his watch band? Because I have a bet on it actually.
I thought it was white.
I win that. It
Yeah,
was
it matched
yellow
his shirt.
last year, and I said it's going to be white this year.
I thought it was white.
And the people said it was in yellow because he was, they're doing this whole thing with
Ukraine.
Ukraine, yeah, supporting
Ukraine.
Ukraine. So, given this information, we're gonna do on our next Nerd World, exciting Nerd World, and we'll find some wonderful, exciting guests to join us. But things like, is Moore's law defunct? What's gonna be the next great thing in computing, or are we gonna have to wait until quantum?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. We had this incredibly boring announcement. Apple could have presented this information in 3 minutes, and they took an hour and a half or something.
Hour and a half.
And essentially what they did was they added collision sensors, or higher level accelerometers into their watch and their phone. And
well, that's good for me, people that are getting older, because we fall down a lot.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that Google did with their Pixel 6 and didn't even announce it.
Well, if they had, I might have got a Pixel 6.
Oh, yeah, they threw that in there. I think they didn't announce it because they weren't sure of its effectiveness, and you don't want to claim that you can provide rescue services automatically when it doesn't work reliably.
Otherwise, I've got to buy underwear with padding on the 2 hips or something. I think is.
Well, you just buy underwear with accelerometers, and it'll tell you when you're moving and when you're not.
And GPS.
But anyway, so they added this, and they bumped up the camera a little bit, and that was it. And this raises the question, like JS was saying, Moore's law, which people who may not be familiar with it states, for people who may not be familiar with it, states that every 18 months, computing power will double, and the cost will decrease. Well, the number of transistors will double.
Correct.
And the cost will be cut in half. But yes, essentially we're suggesting the suggestion is that computing power will double.
Do we have? It doesn't look like we have comments on. I don't know how to do this here.
Comments are turned on.
Oh, there we go. Top chat. Okay.
Yeah, they're turned on.
No, you want live chat.
No.
Select live chat so you can see the actual comments come in rather than the ones that are voted highly.
Yeah.
Chat's on. Hi, everybody.
Anyway, so this Alan Moore came up with this in the 60s?
Gordon Moore.
Gordon Moore.
Okay.
What was it, 50s or 60s? They came up with this.
It was the 60s, or maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, so it has been operative for 30 years or 40 years maybe, but in recent decades, we've reached the limit of physics, essentially. We were able to pack a certain number of transistors into a certain number of nanometers square, and we're now down to a 4 nanometer process. That is, you can put a transistor every 4 nanometers, which is pretty damn small. But Intel and Samsung and TSMC claim that by 2024 they'll be down to a 2 nanometer process. But beyond that, you just can't get
Yeah.
you
And
can't pack
what
transistors
really
into a
is
space, and so this is why I think we've seen a dwindling of the incremental improvement in computer hardware.
right. So even though 2 nanometer is half of 4 nanometer, you're really not going to get that much more performance, especially when you consider you're going to be dealing with more issues of heat dissipation and you know, you're just crowding
Well,
all
the theory has always been that with the smaller processes,
die size. Yeah.
you have smaller die size. You you have less of a thermal problem to begin with, but they just keep packing more processors in,
Right. Exactly.
more
'Cause the
transistors
density,
in, so they're not actually reducing the thermal problem.
if the
Uh,
density stayed the same, they wouldn't have the heat problem. But then again, all you'd have is a smaller chip.
which is not a bad thing in and of itself,
Yeah.
I
Well, I
suppose.
guess.
Um, but interestingly, so there is a point beyond beyond which you cannot perceive the performance improvement that you're going to get.
Hmm.
That is, screens can only be so good. Text can only come
I can
up on
tell
the
you
screen
exactly
so
what that
quickly.
resolution is.
Hmm.
And yeah, these are known specific things. Human perception just can't, you won't be able to identify any performance improvement you
The
get.
eye
Either something
cannot.
is instantaneous or it is not.
The eye can't resolve in between 4 to 8K. Cannot resolve any higher.
And the same thing
Yeah.
goes for delivery of content. Either it's instantaneous or it's
But
not.
but there are
There's no
things
double
they can
instantaneous
trick.
that you're going to see.
There are ways that they can trick it. You know, you have monitors going to 120 and 240 and whatnot. So there are ways that that our perception of things can improve, whether it's the audio or the video or both.
HDR.
Yeah, but the point is that every time you do that stuff, it's taking more and more computing power, and a lot of what we're moving into is really more graphics intensive, which is why we're seeing the 4000 series come out and all these pretty.
Anyway, so this is a very interesting topic in and of itself, and
Right.
it sounds like we're going to be able to discuss this on the next episode of NerdWorld.
Next episode, and for those of you who are watching this either live or between now and then, and wanna join us, just get a hold of me or John or Colin, and just say, hey, I got something to say about that Moore guy, that or chips or dip or any of that really.
Yeah, we do need to find some interesting guests for that
Yeah,
one.
we'll get
Um,
somebody.
and be sure to subscribe to the NerdWorld YouTube channel so that you get notified when that
Oh yeah,
episode
yeah.
goes live.
Yeah, our library is coming along now. So
Yeah, and
As they say, like and subscribe and do all
I'm
the
going to give
YouTube
away
things.
something too to a viewer on the next show, something really good. So
hopefully YouTube doesn't turn off like Blab did, so we lose all our content.
I don't think so. I think YouTube's one of the few places on the interwebs making money.
That was a little,
Especially since they now like cut back on all the content producers. So you don't need those millions of dollars. You content. Look at this. I was talking to Colin before about him having this bright light on the side of his face, and I forgot to realize that I got to put a thing on the window up there.
I see it. You look like Blade Runner.
Something like that.
You got the lights coming in sideways, like it's a
You know,
balloon.
what I can do, I can hide.
It didn't cost you $500,000 to do it.
Oh, the effect. Yeah. All right. Well,
All right, we ready to start this show?
I
So
think
yeah,
more of a shindig than a show,
A
really.
really big shoe today.
Big shoe.
So I was talking to the guys, and something came up where
Whoa, you guys.
and most people in the United States are unaware of the story of high fructose corn syrup, and I think the story is intriguing, and it's killing us as Americans and people
We
generally.
have King George to blame, right? Is that what you're going to say?
I'm going to say Richard Nixon.
Okay.
So the story goes like
blame Nixon.
blame
Yeah.
Nixon. The story goes like this: the '74 election was coming, and the sugar futures were bouncing up and down, and people were complaining that sugar was too expensive. And he said, if I can produce more sugar or lower the cost of sugar, I'll win the election. So he sent his Food and Drug Administrator to go out and find a sugar substitute, which he found in Japan. High fructose corn syrup was developed in Japan. It's 10x sweeter than sugar, and it was a tenth of the cost. And so that was introduced.
Well, then that would be a good thing, wouldn't it, John?
Sounds like a good thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Until you read about the metabolic nightmare that it is to our bodies. So in '73, they introduced it into the United States, and that's when we all got fat. Isn't that true, Colin?
That's what they say.
Was it 73 that I got fat? I don't know. I'm trying to. I guess I had type 2 diabetes for a while before actually going to a doctor and having them say, "Oh, this is not compatible with life, guy."
Did you have any fat kids in your class when you were in grade school, JS?
Just me, pretty much.
That's me. So when I drive by the schools now, all the kids are fat. Not
Well,
all.
here's the
At least
interesting thing.
50% of them.
The 6-month baby, 6-month old baby right now is 22% heavier than they were in 1970.
There you go. And the reason is sugar and high fructose corn syrup. I've got some slides prepared, guys.
Oh, please.
I want to share these.
You mean we're doing an audio visual presentation?
They're horrible resolution, but there's some important data here.
You got a laser pointer as well, or no?
I don't. Let me make this a little bigger so that we can see these. So here's the bullet points for diabetes. This is diabetes cost, which is caused by sugar and high fructose corn syrup. This slide is from 2013. Diagnosed diabetes costs in the United States are estimated $245 billion.
I bet it's $1 trillion now, John.
So if you do the math, look, it says at the bottom, it says 2007, when the costs were last estimated 174, 41% increase in 5 years. So if this is 10 years old, it doubled and doubled again. So the number should be quad this number, which is $1 trillion.
Ah, see that?
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head.
And
you know why I know that? I know it because Ben and Jerry's has increased their number of flavors. So it's exponential.
Now, there's a bunch of stuff about the metabolic damage of fructose and sucrose. Sucrose is sugar. Fructose is the manufactured version thereof, and also found in fruit. And the problem
in fruit, it's okay though, right? Because
because it got fiber in fruit. If you eat the whole fruit, it's got fiber.
There you go.
So the bottom line here with all these fancy slides, this comes from an amazing YouTube video from a endocrinologist from San Francisco, neighbor to JS over there.
It's giving me a headache looking at it, John.
He goes through how the body treats fructose and how it tries to metabolize fructose. That's how he pronounces it. The body believes fructose is a poison. And so body does not fully metabolize fructose. Sugar's not good for you either, but fructose is super, super bad for you.
So it's like ethanol in that way.
How much fructose is in high fructose corn syrup? Oh, I guess a lot because it's called fructose.
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Here's an interesting slide. Here's the most obese states, the laziest states, which includes Nevada on here. That's pretty funny. 10 most unhappy states, which is equivalent to the fattest and laziest states. And then, of course, those same regions are adult heart disease related to diabetes and food and people being lazy because they're a little overweight.
Interesting. I'm kind of unhappy and I'm in California, so I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah, so I encourage everybody to do a little research of their own on fructose and sugar, and you'll be really careful on what you consume on this. Here's what we talked about in 70. See, at 72, you see the price index shoot way up, then come way down, and then come way back up again. And so they tried to regulate this with high fructose corn syrup.
Interesting thing, between 1940 and 1950, we went on sugar rations. The whole world pretty much was on sugar rations, John. And between 1940 and 1950, there wasn't a ton of diabetes out there, but it's still what there was dropped incredibly. Yeah, because of sugar rations, because people consume less sugar then.
So the story about Nixon is really intriguing. I learned that from this gentleman that talked about this story, the endocrinologist. I don't have his name here on my notes. I think I'll have to look it up and see.
We'll just call him the doctor.
So what's a common list of items with high fructose corn syrup in it? Everywhere. It's in ketchup. It's in apple.
It's in meat. They're pumping it into meat.
It's in crackers.
Make it brown better.
It's in steak sauce. That's one of my favorite, A1. It's in relish. It's in oatmeal. It's in cold cuts. It's in canned fruits. It's in peanut butter. It's in juice. It's in cereal. It's in mayo. It's in salad dressing. It's in bread.
It's in rainbows and unicorns. It's everywhere.
So these manufacturers were incentivized to produce this stuff. And so now they have Cargill and Archer Daniels Midland that are the primary refiners of high fructose corn syrup, and they're a pretty powerful political lobby at this point.
And we've been led to believe for years. I was one of these people years ago. Oh, give me my toast, no butter, please. But we now actually have studies that show if you put butter on your toast, it slows down the glycemic index. It slows down the metabolism of that bread into sugar, and it's actually considerably healthier for you. If you're going to have bread, put some fat on it.
Well, this was part of it. There was a dietary trend towards low-fat eating in the late 70s and early 80s, right, John?
We still have it.
And but at that time, that was it. That was everyone should cut fat out of their diet. End of story. As it turns out, though, when you reduce the fat in food products, they don't taste as good. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well,
you're gonna add sugar.
My wife bought by accident fat-free half and half. And I had a little bit of the regular half and half in the fridge. And I looked, the fat-free half and half per serving, which I think is 2 tablespoons, was 3 grams of net carbs. The regular half and half, 1 gram of net carbs. And the fat-free half and half actually had 10 more calories per serving.
Did it have high fructose corn syrup in it?
Indeed, it did.
Yeah, of course.
Well.
Yeah, so I encourage people to watch these videos about. He talks about how the body believes it's a poison when it goes directly into the liver and it starts the fat production. This is the reason why people are getting fat in the United States now. Obesity levels are super far up there. I don't know if Colin has those numbers or not, but he's got some other.
I don't have the obesity numbers. I was looking actually at corn production. I was particularly interested in the lobbying efforts around this, and one of the things that Nixon did actually to deal with this perceived problem of food pricing getting in the way of his chances of getting reelected, as you were saying. They found high fructose corn syrup as a sugar substitute. Well, what they needed to do was discourage people from putting sugar in food products, actual sugar, cane sugar. And so what they did was they enforced tariffs to drive the price of sugar even higher.
Damn you, King George.
So that food producers would be incentivized to move to high fructose corn syrup, which would then stabilize the pricing of the food supply.
Right.
But the sugar lobby and the agriculture lobby as a whole. First of all, the sugar lobby is its own thing, not the high fructose corn syrup lobby, but the sugar lobby been around and has been has been supported. The production of cane sugar in the United States has been supported
but they
financially from the government
cane
since
sugar, beet
since
sugar,
1930s. Cane and beet sugar, yeah,
beet sugar, yeah.
both. And since the 1930s, and it's one of the only agricultural products that has had been financially supported continuously since then. So you then create this new competition that comes in the 70s, and try to beat down the sugar lobby, which creates its own set of problems.
Yeah.
But you managed to elevate the corn production in the United States to support the production of high fructose corn syrup. So the numbers that I had that I wanted to share. So go ahead, Jess.
I want to say bad things about Monsanto.
Oh, in a minute, we'll get there.
Okay, good. All right.
But so Nixon plays games with sugar pricing in the 70s, and use of high fructose corn syrup is incentivized. Well, then, of course, the production of corn has to be incentivized. So the breakdown of the corn production is fascinating in and of itself. So in 2016, which is when this became a big political issue.
I just want to say, Gen Zers, if you're watching, the 70s, that's what you would be calling the time long ago.
Yeah, that was before the internet.
Yeah, there was a time like that, believe it.
But so anyway, the numbers that I was able to locate were from 2016, because there was a big tussle between the sugar lobby and the the corn lobby, and the Republicans came down squarely for the corn lobby, and Dems primarily came down for the sugar lobby, which is interesting because Rubio and Jeb Bush, Florida, are the primary representatives of the, or Florida is the center of the cane sugar production.
Yes. It's like the Jets versus the Sharks.
Yeah. So anyway,
they rumble.
The breakdown is fascinating. So $51 billion in corn production in the United States.
When? In 2016?
2016. Yeah, okay. 2016. And of that, 1.6% of that corn went into food products, cereal, cornmeal, and then into other food products. 3.3% went into production of high fructose corn syrup. 30% went into production of ethanol, and 45% went into feedstocks.
Is that an additive for gasoline, that ethanol, or how is
it? Yes, when you go to get gas in most states, you'll see 10% ethanol. Which arguably
back off your audio a little bit because you're clipping.
Which arguably isn't very helpful.
I'm excited. That's why I'm excited.
Need a limiter on your audio chain.
So anyway, you get twice as much corn used for production of high fructose corn syrup than you have for actual consumption of corn-based food products.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
Anyway,
yeah, the politics and the economics around this is amazing. But remember those slides that I showed? There's a book called Diary of an Economic Hitman. And, the days of using weaponry and tanks and soldiers has been replaced by building bridges, putting third world countries in debt to the US on these high interest loans that they can never pay back, and then introducing McDonald's to their country, because then 20 years later, they all have diabetes and they're
I
all
think also the Kardashians had something to do with all this.
exactly right.
Well, you can't leave out the Chinese. The famously their Belt and Roads Initiative is exactly this.
Yeah.
But see, here's my thoughts on the whole thing, and that is, you got, I call them the 1/10 of 1%, the people who are so wealthy we don't even know who they are, and they're into the status quo because you disrupt the status quo and you can disrupt their money channels. So, so we don't really see a whole lot of change happening, and we know this because, like MIT, every year they do tests to find out what better building materials and things are. But we still build roads the same way we did 80 years ago. So the way that the corn lobby worked and all that was essentially it was entrenched and just built upon a kind of an existing infrastructure of super wealthy people. And once again, so you'll find people in the World Health Organization will say, well, here's the thing. Yes, we know our food supply is poisoned, but it's better than starving most of the world.
Here's
I
the
guess
thing,
apparently without the high fructose corn syrup, taking fiber out of everything and all that, we'd have difficulty shipping products and filling the need for many people to eat. So that's the excuse that seems to be offered even by learned people.
Well, yes, if you can provide a large amount of food with relatively moderate to low nutritional value, you can feed more people.
Yeah.
Just because you can put it into more hands.
Well, the higher
that's
the
not
nutritional
inherently a better
value,
thing, but yeah.
the higher the nutritional value, the more expensive it is to create it, store it, ship it, all of that. So,
JS, isn't it true that those white dots are flowing through somebody's bloodstream and going directly into the liver?
well, that's an interesting thing. Again, I'm almost like a living testimony to what we're saying is true. Obviously, one person is kind of too small a sample group. But in January of this year, mid-January, I was over 300 pounds, and I was taking 5 medications for type 2 diabetes, and told by my endocrinologist that it was looking like I'd have to go on insulin. My blood pressure was high, and my cholesterol was high, and I went on a modified keto diet. I basically started cutting out all of these carbs, super low carb diet. And the funny thing is, my last test, my good cholesterol much higher, my bad cholesterol much lower, and I have increased my intake of saturated fat considerably.
Yep.
Animal protein, animal fat,
Yep.
I've increased the intake of that. My A1C, which is your blood sugar level, it is now in the lower normal range. Granted, I'm still on meds, but it's dropped 3 points since I went on keto. And I'm looking at somewhere, it's hard to say, you're a big guy, you weigh yourself in the morning and the night. It could differ by 5, 6 pounds. But if I had to guess, I'd say I'm about 60 pounds lighter. Uh, thank you. The inflammation, largely gone. I'm also somebody who has chronic pain. I'm legally handicapped, folks. I've had trouble walking. I have spinal stenosis. My pain has gotten a lot better. I don't sleep as much. Depression, practically gone. All of these things, and guess what? It's sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and the
Carbs.
high carbohydrate products that unfortunately have been created over the years and they don't work anymore. The flour in this country and most countries isn't the same as consuming flour back in the mid 1800s, and other things as well. So, and am I missing? You know, the first few months I missed consuming these
Carbs.
things,
Yeah.
but I don't so much anymore. And guess what? An occasional slice of pizza doesn't kill you, but sitting down and eating carbs like that and products with the high fructose sugar and it's sad because this is also affecting a lot of the lower economic rung in this country because you have to really go out of your way to try and find products that are healthy for you, or you need a lot of time to prep and cook it. Or
Well,
if you're
at some
buying these
level,
things,
when you hit that lower economic rung,
yeah,
your objective is to consume enough calories to survive. And what is the
exactly.
cheapest way to do that?
Yep.
It's
But
typically
these
going to McDonald's.
keto products cost 2 to 3 to 4 times the equivalent in just a regular product. That's a keto chip or a keto cookie or a keto whatever.
Double the price.
Pricing is
So
two.
is that what you moved to? I mean, what were some of the things that you cut out of your diet?
Uh, so I don't really have flour anymore. I certainly don't have corn flour. I never really had much in the way of sweetened pops, you know, but I do drink diet sodas, which seem to be okay for me. Uh, what else have I? Yeah, like pastas. I'm not eating pastas much anymore, or pizza, or things of that nature. I've cut way back even on potatoes. At one point, the protein that was in potatoes, the starches in potatoes, potatoes mixed with other things helped to create more proteins. And now, so much of the starch that's in a protein is also highly glycemic. It breaks down into sugar in your body quickly. But guess what? If you're going to have mashed potatoes, put a well, I'm sorry, it's a family show. I was going to say shitload,
Is it
but
really?
I shouldn't say that. Uh, put a lot of butter on it because oddly enough, putting that butter on the potatoes helps it when you're eating it break down more slowly, metabolize more slowly into sugar. And
And
this
it
is the
tastes better.
opposite of what we've learned,
Yeah.
what we've
Yeah,
been
it tastes
taught.
better. I mean, the same thing is true with French fries. A couple years ago, McDonald's decided that they're going to switch from beef tallow
Yeah.
uh to what, corn
I don't know. It's
oil
canola
or
oil.
something, canola oil or something, and their fries are really quite unpleasant relative
Yeah,
to how they tasted 20 years ago.
I agree.
And a friend of mine the other day just got a craving for French fries. I said, well, they're not the same as when you remember having them. He said, well, okay, what can we do? So what did we do? We got some potatoes. We bought a julienne cutter and some beef
Make some
tallow and
pounds of
made
julienne
actual
French
potato chips.
fries.
Or not potato chips, French fries. I guarantee you those fries were healthier for us
Yeah.
than anything you could buy.
Well, I did get an air fryer, and you know, again, this whole thing of I'm on a keto diet, you don't have to like. What you need to do is you need to sit down and really say, okay, what is my situation now? Because high fructose corn syrup is also leading to gum and tooth disease. And diabetes has been related to gum and tooth disease,
Yep.
inflammation, all these things in your body, heart disease, corn syrup, heart disease. And I will go out on a limb and I will say, if the government really wanted to, it would be a hell of a lot easier to get rid of high fructose corn syrup than it is to try and save lives from COVID.
Isn't
Well,
it legal in
how
some,
many people died from COVID at this point versus the number of people who died of, diabetes and other
not
Yeah,
even
other
close.
weight related?
Not even close.
Yeah.
no, yeah, but in some ways, COVID is almost like it's like the what the magicians do. It's like look over here, uh, and so you don't realize
Diversion.
that
That's
there's
what
all this other craziness going on. I'm
I
not
think
saying
that
COVID's not a horrible thing and shouldn't be looked at, but Jay, all you got to do is
I think that high fructose corn syrup is illegal in some of the European Union countries.
As
it
far as I
is.
know, you can't even included in a product.
Well,
in
here's the other
Mexico.
thing. There are companies like Procter and Gamble, Unilever, and a lot of other companies, and you think of the United States as being this really enlightened country and advanced. Uh, for every like 200 products they sell here, they 3 or 4 of those could be sold in Europe because they're using chemicals that they won't allow there. So a lot of the products that they do sell there, they have to reformulate it. They have to take out all these carcinogens and things like that that we allow in the United States.
I'm looking it up on the Googles to see. I guess it's not completely true.
What, that
Which,
corn syrup is outlawed?
Yeah.
now, as far as I
Uh,
know, you
Find
can't
a
include it.
reliable source.
there are products you can't put it in. I don't believe you can use corn syrup in certain baked goods in France, for example.
Yeah.
There are other things, other
But you
places where
can't
you
include
can.
it in soda in Mexico.
Well,
Yeah, they use
that's
real sugar.
Yeah.
yeah. So is a Mexican Coke, which is using cane sugar, not even beet sugar, but cane sugar. I know when I've got buddies around here doing work and stuff like that, I get that Mexican Coke for them, and they
Oh
love it.
yeah, it's great.
But is it really a lot better for you than the corn syrup version?
I don't know, but it tastes better.
Well, that's weird
I
because the
I
corn
I would
syrup is.
say I would say they're both bad, but if you're going to select between one or the other, choose real grain sugar instead of
Yeah.
Yeah.
HF.
So here's the thing about Coca-Cola that's interesting. When they switched from using regular sugar to high fructose corn syrup, on that it's not called Scoville. That's the heat thing. But whatever the sweetness monitor is, I don't even know what it's called. But the high fructose corn syrup is so much sweeter. So you say to yourself, ah, they must be putting a lot less of it in. No, 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 nay. They're putting more of it in. And you know why? Because they are stacking tons and tons of salt in those sodas. Uh, you drink a Coke and you become dehydrated because you have to urinate it out because of all the salt, which makes you drink more Coke. And that's what's going on. So the more high fructose corn syrup, the more it masquerades the taste of the salt that's in there. And that's another thing. They put tons of salt in food because you can use crappy food, and if you put salt in it, it makes it better.
Yep.
It also makes it easier as a preservative in travels and all that kind of stuff. So you have to really be aware these days that many of these products that are out there. The worst thing is, go to a health food store and take a look at the labels on health food products. They're anything but healthy.
Yep. So one of our followers, Alex Curtis, who was also with us on Blab, he calls himself Alex 2.0 now, and he's super interested in this.
Oh, cool.
He went off. He was a pop drinker, high fructose corn syrup. He's dropped like 50 pounds, and he's running the mini marathons. They have a name for those. I can't remember what they call those. They swim like a mile. They
Oh,
bike.
not the Iron Man, but the
No, but
something
the
similar.
the collegiate.
Yeah, they're not iron. They're maybe bronze.
Yeah, they're carbon fiber.
The
brass,
Tin Man,
carbon
the
fiber.
Tin Man marathons. Yeah.
I think it's a mile and a half swim. Bike ride is like 50 miles, and then it's like a 6 or a 10K. And he's down 50 pounds, and he cut out all carbs, all high fructose corn
Well,
syrup.
not all carbs, but
Pretty much all he eats is ribeye steak. That's it. That's all he
well, you know what? I'm not so sure that won't kill you in a different way. But
eats. Might be, but it's working for him. And so I follow a very similar diet, although I'd have some cheat days too, but I'm down 50 pounds as well. So
is there a high fructose corn syrup and single malt scotch?
no, negative. There's
Ah,
nothing in it except alcohol, but there's sugar, there's carbs.
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
So the gentleman who put that presentation together was explaining at one point how the body metabolizes ethanol, alcohol, in a similar fashion as uh, the sucrose, the high fructose corn syrup, and He was saying that essentially the only difference is you get a buzz off alcohol.
Yeah.
They're both poisons in almost the same way.
Yeah.
That's and at least when you're drinking the alcohol, you know you're like not really having health food. I don't think everybody said like, oh, yeah, I went to the health food store today and bought some vodka.
Never let it be said that we haven't evolved in the last 200 years.
Fructose was initially thought to be a better choice for diabetics due to its low glycemic index, but your liver cells cannot produce fructose, and that's where the problems begin.
Right. There's also other issues too. There's I don't know the medical term. I looked at it, but unfortunately my head is full of like weird songs from the 60s and 70s, so I have no room for any new knowledge. But apparently, now I don't even remember what I was going to. Oh, there is like a thing that you in your brain that tells you when you should stop eating. It
Yeah.
shuts off the hunger thing. And guess what? It doesn't work very well when you're consuming high fructose corn syrup. Oh, isn't that another wonderful thing about that product? I'm sorry, John.
My bird is happy to see us.
There you go.
He's singing. Yeah, I wait. You know, when I having like a piece of pizza or 2 slices of pizza max. We had pizza on Sunday, and I'll wait 15 minutes, and then that's usually how long it takes for the stomach to tell the brain that you're full.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you'll stuff yourself, and then you feel.
Oh, I used to sit down and eat, 3/4 of a large pizza, and then 3 hours later eat the other quarter.
And then you feel horrible 2 hours later.
Sure. Then I'm all bloated, and yeah,
Yeah.
you have no motivation to do anything. And
Yeah.
and then the thing is that people don't even look at the psychological, mental issues as well, which is really kind of funny. After you go on something and you have some success, and I think with this sugar or low carb or whatever, uh, suddenly you look at it, you say, you know what? I'm feeling a little mental differences too. There's stuff going on here in my head. And so you start looking at this more holistically, uh, not just physical health, but mental health and well being. And I think it's really been beneficial to both. And also in other people that I see who have done other things, and maybe not even as drastic as what I feel I've done, but just giving up large amounts of this carbs. That's just it. Just call it carbs.
Well, you wanted to beat up on Monsanto a little bit. So here's
Yeah,
an
please
opportunity
do,
to do
Colin.
that. You were saying that the quality of flour and other derived agricultural products has gone down.
Well, it's kind of
The
everything.
quality of the seeds have gone down. I mean, these companies now engineer seeds such that they cannot reproduce. You can't get multiple seasonal crops out of one.
Well, they have to
batch
graph
of
everything
seed.
now. It's all
Yeah.
graphing.
Yeah. So
So
and then of
what's
course they'll
happened is over the years, they've looked at apples, tomatoes, pears, all those things. And I had a great aunt, and she had a farm, and I used to go there all the time. And they looked like different fruit, different shapes and things. They weren't always perfect. And the supermarket, things were seasonal. You didn't really get tomatoes all year long. You didn't get certain things all year long. Uh, we certainly weren't bringing in peaches from Chile in the wintertime or things like that. But over the years, they've now gotten to a point where let's grow it in hothouses, let's do this, let's do that. We want everything uniform, pretty, the same size, all that kind of stuff. We want to be able to pick it green and use, we send it off, and then wherever it goes to, they run, what is it, nitrous through it or something, nitrogen rich gas.
Yeah, but it's all genetically engineered.
And it's all genetically engineered so that you can do that. And nutritionally speaking, your apple today probably has 20% of the amount of nutrients that it had. And you're probably also looking at the fact that it metabolizes differently as well.
All the agave plants for tequila are all genetically engineered for pesticide reasons.
Yeah.
People
Well, and then corn, there are some people who would argue that corn is no longer a vegetable and it should be considered an animal because they put that gene in it, and it's wards off whatever that pest was. I don't know what it's called, but
are they going to form a union? The corn?
it's possible. Yeah,
It,
but
it just
Monsanto.
it always amused me that Monsanto and some of these other agricultural supply operators were suing farmers because
The seeds grew.
a genetically engineered crop that was sold to one farmer appeared in an adjacent farmer's fields, and of course it was just windblown seed distribution, but these things are patented in such a way
Yeah.
that
You have to pay a license fee, or otherwise you're screwed. So
yeah.
the farmer either had to rip out everything or pay a license fee, and sometimes
That's a whole show unto itself.
Oh yeah, well this was quite prevalent in what, the late 2000s, I think.
Yeah, mid to late 2000 sounds right.
But Monsanto now, most of the corn that is being grown is being done so that it can be used in canola oil and canola oil is really it's like high fructose corn syrup that clogs your arteries.
So are you guys aware that the I don't know if it's the high fructose lobbying effort or if it's part of the sugar group that Colin mentioned earlier, they tried to change the name of high fructose corn syrup to corn sugar.
Yeah, that was in what, 2004 or 5 or something,
because they were getting such bad press
yeah,
that they wanted to change the name to confuse everyone and call
well,
it
as it
corn
is,
sugar.
if you look at a list of ingredients, you'll see high fructose corn syrup appears, or the content of high fructose corn syrup appears multiple times with multiple different names. You'll see it as high fructose corn syrup. You'll see it as glycerin something and this and that, and
Corn syrup, corn sugar.
yeah, and yeah, you don't want people became aware of this, in over the last decade or decade and a half. And now they're just trying to hide it on labels. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think they should just call it poo-poo. Would you eat a product if, like, you were looking down the list of ingredients and you saw poo-poo? Caca?
I think they should just rename it lead paint.
How many people read labels on food, JS?
Well, I used to skim them occasionally. That was sort of what I did. Now I study the labels carefully because I'm not only just more aware, but I actually give a damn.
Now, no sugar and no carbs.
What they really ought to do is start
low a carb as I can. So there are some things that are easier to purchase than to make, and other things. So right now, well, that's the thing. If I want to buy 6 keto hot dog buns, they're like $12 or $13.
Just get hot dogs and put sauerkraut on the top with some real mustard. You can get some real mustard.
The hot dogs entirely, because those things are heavily processed to begin with.
Yeah, get bratwurst then. You can get bratwurst from German butchers.
Yeah, I'm just saying I get good stuff, but
yeah.
But the thing is that I'm making my own buns, and they're mostly from whipped egg whites. I have other ingredients too. Huh. I use lupine flour. I use coconut flour. I use almond flour. I use other stuff.
Well, whatever you're doing, it's
almonds are not a great product either. They use more water, especially out where you are. They use more water per pound of almonds than any other
Don't tell my bird.
agricultural product.
See him on top of the TV up there? He loves almonds.
I bet.
Yeah, but
They're tasty, but they're not good for
in the future. They're talking about, for example, meat consumption going up, and we've already identified that the cattle industry is responsible for a lot of the carbon or the what do you call it, the greenhouse gases and all that kind of stuff. And it's really interesting seeing all like these Impossible burgers and these other things that are coming out.
Yeah, they're plant-based.
So plant-based. Now
Plant.
the interesting thing about them is, sure, they are much greener. Their impact. I mean, they have some, but much greener. But really, they're no better for you, and maybe worse.
Well, I think McDonald's just kicked their plant-based. I think it was called the McPlant or something.
McPlant.
Kicked it to the curb.
They
McCaca.
McFace planted.
It's the Bodie McBoatface of burgers.
That's funny. The Impossible burgers and the Beyond Meat and all that.
Yeah.
That is squarely being marketed to carnivores. Squarely marketed.
I tried both of them and they're both horrible tasting.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. If you want to be a vegan or vegetarian, don't go for products that taste like meat. Just go eat a piece of meat if you want meat. There's no moral. Well, okay, this is me ranting, but there's no moral justification for being a vegetarian. There are possible health justifications, but not moral ones.
Here's a trick for all of you. Okay, so the whole thing about this fake meat and whatever, it's what the Japanese call umami. So they do everything they can to give it that umami flavor. So all you got to do is two things. Go out and get yourself some dried mushrooms, put them in a grinder and make mushroom powder, and get Lee and Perrin's Worcestershire sauce. And you put those two things in your eggs, in your vegetables, tofu, whatever the heck you're eating, and you will get the umami experience.
Yeah. So I mean that, or just go get some MSG.
So what I'm reading on the inner tubes is several countries haven't banned high fructose corn syrup, but they have super high tariffs to make it.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas the U.S. has it backwards. Put tariffs on sugar imports and support the corn product.
I think we should do in this country. We should do like subsidize T-bone steaks and asparagus, and then and charge like $30-$40 for a Big Mac, and suddenly you'd see people eating a lot better, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, you could also mandate warnings like you see on packs of cigarettes for anything that contains high fructose corn syrup. This contains a sugar substitute that will likely kill you.
It's not going to work. You can't get a Republican and a Democrat in a room and get them to agree as to whether or not the toilet paper should go over or under.
No way.
And we're trying to work out these complex problems.
Impossible.
Yeah, no, it's not
possible to get anything done now. Hey guys, we're at the top of the hour.
Oh wow!
Oh, wait, that flew by.
Yeah. I'm gonna end this show because I gotta go.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys as always, and hopefully this will do some good talking about it.
I'm gonna try to play our trailer as we
start conversations. Come join our conversations. Please subscribe. Heck, give us a like. That could
like and subscribe and do all the YouTube-y things.
Things.
Ring the bell. Buy our merchandise. No, we don't have merchandise. We have nothing.
No, but comment comment on the videos, and we will try to allocate some time to respond to comments on each.
If you want to just comment and say,
episode.
"Hey, JS, I can only imagine how lousy you looked before you lost the."
Get all negative comments.
Go right ahead.
Hey, no, that's the thing. And any interaction is good interaction, according to YouTube.
I say.
So,
okay, guys, I will see you
Colin,
soon. Here we go.
Bye-bye.
Will John Pretto ever escape from his white hole? Will Colin Hill ever monetize his breathless pulsoscape? The answers to these and even more of the universe's greatest secrets next time on NerdWorld.